Hi, my name is Cameron Edward Benton, and welcome to Getting to Know You. This is my podcast that I have created to honestly give my own self an excuse to interview really interesting people who are interesting to me with their own unique life perspectives. I really believe that the most valuable thing that any of us have in this life is um, our perspective, the stories, the experiences, the thoughts, the ideas that we have all been exposed to up until now. And those things shape our lives. They shape the way that we see the world. They shape the way that we make decisions, that we think about politics, that we think about each other and ourselves. And it's my belief that when we share our perspectives, when we share what's unique about how we believe or how we reach particular decisions, we are able to learn and grow a lot more. And I think especially coming out of COVID, there was so much polarization. There was so much separation. We became memes, almost quite literally. We became giant bumper stickers. And I think from that experience, sort of like animosity that brewed into these very simplified ideas of people versus being able to actually get to know one another, to spend time with one another, to listen to why certain people believe particular things, why they've chosen to live their life in a different way, what their experience is underneath all that. And that's going to be a big thing for me here on this podcast too, is I think it's incredibly important, whether you disagree or agree or not, to honor somebody else's experience. So if somebody tells you that they have experienced something or they have felt something or those things, to not deny that, not to judge them or become critical of them, but to really honor that experience that that person is having. Because the one thing I do not know, no matter what, is what another person is experiencing. I don't know what's actually is like to be them. I can do my best to empathize, to ask questions, to put myself in somebody else's shoes. But no matter how much I do that, I'm never going to be them. So for me to deny someone else's experience is, I think, a terrible way to treat another human being. And not only that, but it keeps us ignorant. It keeps us from examining our own thoughts, our own beliefs, our own doubts, our own perspective. Um, One of the things that I have learned recently is this idea of a belief is something that you hold to be true. And that's it. It's not right, it's not wrong, and it's not true. It's not necessarily real. It's just what you believe. And so I think it's important with whatever we do that we examine our own beliefs. And so it's my hope that with this podcast, you have an opportunity to reflect on your own beliefs, that you have a chance to hear somebody else's perspective that you might not ever have experienced before. We have a lot of really cool guests on this podcast. The first guest is going to be Hussein Abiati, who was born in Iraq. He, escaped to a Saudi Arabian refugee camp when he was about 3 to 5 years old, because of the Persian Gulf War, and then lived there for several years, moved over here to the United States in Portland, Oregon, of everything. If you can't imagine a more different place than the desert of the Middle East to Portland, Oregon, and now is a best-selling author and entrepreneur. And people like that, people who have these unique stories in their lives, I think are so critical to building out our more complete picture of the world around us. There's a great story that I like where there's a sultan and he is trying to figure out what he should do and who he should build an alliance with. And he's strategizing, he's coming up with all these ideas, and these 7 nations send their 7 different wise men over to him to kind of compete for his attention. And so he comes up with this idea and he says, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to blindfold all of you. And with each of your different techniques, I want you to figure out what is in the next room. And one of them goes in and they measure and they do all this testing and they go, well, it's large and it's heavy and it's very sturdy and strong and tall. It must be a tree. Another one comes in and it's touches it, uses much more of their sensory data and their lens through which they see things, and they're touching it. And it's like, no, this is a really deep leathery texture. It's got to be like a wall of some sort of barrier. Another one comes in and goes, no, 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 no. Quickly puts it on his head, finds the light tickling of its nose. And it's like, oh, this is clearly a feather duster. Another one comes in. Oh, no, this is definitely a hat. Another one comes in and it's, no, this is clearly a snake, of all things. And all of them present their different ideas to the Sultan, and then they remove their blindfolds, only to reveal that it was an elephant. And I think that life is often like that. We all are grabbing, searching, blind, and making the best sense of it that we can. And by listening to different people's stories through their perspectives, through the wisdom and experience that they've gained in this life, I think we have an opportunity to become closer to actually figuring out what the hell is going on. I don't think we'll ever actually get to capital T truth, but I think we can create a better and more complete picture. And it is my hope that this podcast and this show helps to contribute to that in some small way. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions or anything, if you want to reach out, if you want to give me any feedback or ideas, or you have somebody that you'd like to see come on the show, they don't have to be famous. They don't have to be wealthy. They don't have to be super successful people. I want to build out this thing from literally every myriad and type of person that I can. So if there's somebody you think that I'm going on to, or you think that I'm, avoiding certain things or thoughts, then please let me know. There may be some people that I'm not going to have on. Certain things I think maybe are could be dangerous, but that perspective of myself might change. To give certain people platforms or that kind of thing. So that is something that I have to consider. And this show is going to ebb and grow and flow and change, and I'm going to ebb and grow and flow and change. And so I hope that you enjoy the ride with me wherever this thing goes. I have 10 episodes at least recorded right now, and there will be a lot more coming down the pipeline. I already have more guests than I can handle, and it's been such a cool blessing. One of my favorite things in the world is to have these types of conversations. And so I am so grateful to get to do this. It is a blast. It's an art form. It's a calling for me in my heart. And so, yeah, thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. And without further ado, here is getting to know you.